Hey, what's up? This is your girl Diamond. I go live every Friday and talk about whatever I want. So, let me pick up the article and get right to it because I have a story I want to talk to you. Hey, Android, just in time for my drive to Poland. I was like, ooh, a drive to Poland. How do you get there? But you are on the North Pacific Northwest, so you could theoretically drive through Alaska and down through Russia into Poland. That is, yeah, you could theoretically. But all right, Portland. Ooh, my bad. Um, so y'all know that trans women have been banned from chess tournaments, from female chess tournaments, which is hilarious because that's literally sexism. They were like, because we were born assigned male at birth, that we have an advantage over the women's. If that doesn't scream sexism, hey Darcel, how are you? Hannah, hey. That is just sexism, y'all. That is just, it's transphobic, but it's also misogynistic. I really don't want to get into, they could play the whole got an advantage when it comes to like sports, maybe. That is kind of illogical because of the physicality of men. It's that's at least that's a logical um mindset to, oh, you know, you got a physical advantage. Cool. But chess is about intelligence and playing a game. And if they are saying that we got an advantage in those arenas, then they're saying that women are stupid. They're saying that people who are assigned male at birth have a more strategic mind and y'all don't. And this is how these stupid ideas and ideologies around um, men being better mentally than women, this is how they perpetuate them and how these things are linked. So I hope y'all are clocking that and try to find that in other scenarios that we see. So what has been going on with y'all this week? That's basically what they're doing. Honey. It's just cis women are dumb, and we're gonna have an advantage in the game of chess. Oh, I'm gonna give folks a chance to come in before I start my story. I don't want to have to. I do that. It's not. It's just I wanted to talk about. I wanted to start off with that so y'all can, you know, child. They out here being stupid in the name of transphobia, and them banning trans women from chess is just um, misogyny with a coat on, with a transphobic coat on. That's it. I don't really need to go deep into that conversation because it should be obvious. Should be obvious. Hey Ty, how are you? Um, what I do want to talk about today is I am working on my book. Y'all know I've been working on it for a long time, but it's really hard. It's really difficult to really want to make something quality, and you have to edit and change, and I have ADD, so I be distracted. It's really difficult. So y'all just gotta be patient with me. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I just want y'all to know it's gonna be good. Um, but it made me think of me, like I've told y'all in the past, my book is about love, sex, and love, sex, mostly love, but because of love, romantic love, sex is involved in. Um, between from the time that I was born till I became an adult. So it is nothing about adulthood. It's about being born and all of my experiences of love until I was an adult, and how my queerness colored how I experience love. And when we talk about love, I'm not just talking about um, romantic love, but that's one area of love. So, romantic love, brotherly love, family love, community love, all those kind of different aspects of love, and how it showed up, godly love, how it showed up in my life, and how it warped based on my queerness and based on my difference in the world and how I perceive myself, how other people perceive me, all that kind of stuff. That is the gist of what my book is about. And it is intended to help two things that I'm trying to do. I am trying to get queer people to think deeply about their childhood experiences a little bit more, because a lot of times there's trauma around our childhood, to think deeply around how some of our unhealthy behavior and healthy behavior, how our behavior was informed by some of these um, events and traumas, and not even the traumas, the glimmers and the traumas. Um, think deeply about those. So the book is for queer people, and also it is for parents to think about how they are rearing queer children and how their actions impact and how the environment around these queer children that their parents can watch and see, how that impacts their children and how they can be better at avoiding some of these pitfalls. So that is my intention behind my book, for parents and for queer people to think deeply about their experience, and for parents to think deeply about how they are raising their children if they want to be a good parent to a queer child. So anyway, so I'm on this chapter about this whole chapter is about bullying. It's about my experience with bullying from adults, my experience with bullying from my peers, my experience with bullying because various identities that I intersect. So, in the process of me uncovering these stories that I'm trying to tell, and me thinking about these stories deeply and remembering things, there was a story, not a story, but an incident that kind of resurfaced in my memory, and I was the beginning of this portion of the book. Let me read it so that y'all can not know what I'm talking about. Y'all get what I'm talking about, but I want to read it. Um, this is just a sig. This is just a paragraph that's the beginning of the chapter about bullying. At a young age, I learned that violence is the language of men. It was masculine, and in my life, I knew that violence was used to when I think about violence, I knew that it was used to enslave and dehumanize. Like my first idea of violence, I knew that it was used to enslave and dehumanize Black people. I remember Roots Kunta Kinte losing a foot. I remember Veery Brown getting strung up in the closet as a child by her evil white mistress in Margaret Walker's Jubilee. These is books that I read when I was younger, and I remember, and they gave me, you know what I'm saying, ideas of violence because that my ancestors had went through. Um, Violence is also used as a punishment and a coercion tactic to control people's behavior. So this is going to show up in my how this showed up in my life was a common whooping. I would get a whooping for bad grades. um, this the threat of being whooped, which whooping is violence. That they use violence to control my behavior and control other people's behavior. When we think about any kind of tapping, spanking, or whooping. And a more extreme version of that would be when we talk about coercing people would be that I saw growing up would be like a robbery or a rape I saw happen in my neighborhood. Um, and it is used to degrade and subdue people who are deemed weaker. So this can be domestic violence, um, and more common for me, bullying. So I'm giving you the idea of how violence showed up as a little kid, just how it showed up in my life, and when I saw incidents of violence, and when I saw incidents of what it was used for. You feel what I'm saying? So, and I want to go back to the part that I said it was used to coerce people into, an extreme version was like robbery and rape. So when I typed that line, I had to go back to the first time that I experienced the idea of rape. Not, I've never been raped, but the concept of, oh, this is a rape when somebody forces somebody into a sexual situation. So trigger warning if you're not if you're triggered by conversations about rape. Um, so one of my first, not one, the first. No, 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 no. It's not the first. I remember seeing like rape scenes on different shows, so like series. But I'm talking about in person. Um, no, this had to be the first because that scene was when I used to live off of in Oak Tree. So it had to be this happened before that. So this probably was the first. I don't know if I remember seeing any TV shows prior to this. So this is a in real life situation where it had to be the first. It had to be the first. I think this is the first time. Definitely my first time understanding the concept of rape. So my mom, um, this is way prior to my mom being on drugs. This is in the 80s, mid 80s, mid to late 80s. And, my mom lived in low income housing. Um, she was a young girl having me. She had me when she was 16. Um, and she was, just doing the best she can to take care of us. It was really stable. We stayed there for a very, very long time. So it wasn't, um, any kind of moving around. This was a really happy time of my life when it comes to me and my mother's relationship. None of the trauma that would come um, years later with through her addiction and neglect from her addiction. None of that stuff had happened yet. So this is a time in my life where I was, you know, fully in love with my mother, and the idea, the romanticized idea of motherhood. Like, my mom is the most amazing woman in the world. She takes care of me. She cooks my food. When I'm sick, she kisses my boo-boos. Like, if I get a sore when I'm sick, she puts vapor rub on my chest and makes me feel good. My mother was in her bag when it comes to motherhood, and just the idea of motherhood. And so I loved my mom. My mom was amazing. Diamond, do you want children? Do you want kids? I don't have sex with people who have the equipment for me to have kids. And if I had children, I would want them to be biologically connected to me. So that's kind of hard. Do I want them? I wouldn't want to say want. I don't know how to respond to that. Yeah and no. It's a yeah and no situation. Like, I don't have any. There's no urge to say, "Ooh, I want to figure out how to have children." Um, but say that I was in a relationship with a trans man, that would be an amazing perk of being with a trans man, along with him being trans and him being a great person. A perk would be that, oh, we could potentially have children. And religiously, it is important on a spiritual level to pass your bloodline down, um, in my particular tradition. So not having children is kind of a disservice to my ancestral power. Um, so there is a level of, I would like to, but I also am not actively trying to do that. I hope that answered that question. Anyway, that's not a priority. Plus, child, kids are expensive, child. They take up a lot of time. They are a lot of responsibility, a lot of money. I wouldn't be able to travel and do what I want to do. And when I got custody of my brother when I was 21, so the having kids in the house and having kids in the house and buying school clothes, cooking breakfast for them, taking care of children, I've had that experience. And that don't scream, ooh, I want to do that. No. So part of me is like, oh, girl, no. And part of me is like, oh, I would love to pass my bloodline down. The idea of seeing, my children look like me and have my personality, or my spouse's or partner's personality. Um, how that mix and that male. Anyway, in blending bloodlines, like my ancestral and their ancestral, and we having a child, and see how that plays out in the world. I think that's a beautiful happening, but also, mm. Anyway, so this was a time in my life with my mom where she just was an amazing mom. I love my mom, but she was an amazing ratchet mom. I did in my younger years, I didn't have the concept of the class difference, because everybody around me was country ratchet. Because most of the people that I grew up around, they are first and second generation Northerners, where they're like most Black folks. Their parents had came from the South. My grandparents, or the parents, had came from the South, and they are living up north. And so there was a country vibe to them, and we lived in the city, so there was like a ratchetness too. Um, it was, there was a class thing, and so it wasn't a negative thing. It wasn't a negative at all. It's still not a negative now, but it wasn't. I didn't learn that it was negative to other people. of other classes until I got older. But when I was younger, we always ratchet. We always ghetto. We was all hood people. So it wasn't I didn't really think about it like that, but there was a lot of hood shit going on. So one of the things my mom, because my mom was so young and she was stable in her house, like myself, my mom's house was like an open door to her family members or her friends who were going through problems. ACL. Um, hey Chris. Did I miss anybody? Hey Bougie. Hey Brandon. Did I miss anybody? No, I didn't. U77. Hey. Um, so her house was, her when if her friends was going through something with their parents, they would come stay with my mom because my mom had her own place and she only had one kid. And my mama didn't have any children anymore until, you know, I was the only child for a very long time until my middle brother came, which I think I was like 6 or 7. So I was an only child for the beginning of my life. Um, so it was just her. So it just was it was a bunch of people, adults. Well, they weren't adults. Now that I'm an adult and I look back at them, these were also her peers. So they were young people, young people, teenagers, um, late teens, early 20s. So all these people that in my mind as a kid I thought was an adult, they weren't adults. They were actually some young adults or teens. Like my uncles, they were 16, 17, but I thought of them as adults. So anyway, two people that I remember in my mom's life at the time was I call her my aunt Tracy. She's not my aunt. She's just my mom's friend, but I call her my aunt Tracy. Um, my aunt Faye, also same thing. Not my aunt, but my mom's friend. And my aunt Janelle. Now Faye had a couple of sisters. Now Faye was one of the closest people to my mom. At one point, Faye was Faye had a couple of sisters, my aunt Jerry and my aunt Donna. Now Faye, Jerry, and Donna were real sisters, but because of my mama's connection to Faye, they all became my aunts because I would stay with my aunt Jerry. I would stay with my aunt Donna. Their kids would stay with my mama. So basically, my mama, being best friends with Faye, became like a sister to them, and so they all helped with each other's kids because they all had children. And my mom being the youngest of them, they were all young women who had children, multiple children, and so they would babysit for each other. You know, help each other out like women do. That kind of community thing that Black women are known for. And so they were my aunts, my aunt Jerry, my aunt Donna, my aunt Faye. Um, my aunt Tracy is Donna's oldest daughter. So I want that. Let me make sure so those sisters, Faye, Jerry, Donna. Donna has an older daughter named Tracy, who is in her teens because Donna's the oldest. My mother is the youngest of these women, of these young ladies, young women. Um, so she has an oldest daughter named Tracy that I call my aunt Tracy because she's my mother's age, her and my mama get cool, even though Donna's the oldest. This is her oldest daughter. So Tracy, then is Janelle. I'm trying to think of who else. Who else was in my mother's clique of girls? Okay. So Faye, my aunt Faye, my aunt Faye gets saved. Okay. So my aunt Faye was known as the fast tail promiscuous girl in her younger years. So she didn't mind giving that coochie out. A woman after my own heart. So Faye was known for being in the street for being, a freak, giving that pussy. Honey. My mother, on the other hand, because she had gone through sexual abuse as a young child, she really wasn't as promiscuous as my aunt Faye. And so, but she didn't also my mom also didn't have the structure, the the churchy-fied structure that my aunt Faye and her sisters had. So my mother had the freedom to be out in the streets if she wanted to be out in the streets. Like if they wanted to go to party, my mother had the freedom to do that. My mother had, if they wanted to go to skating rink all night, Faye didn't. So Faye was kind of, they were attempting to shelter her, but she was kind of running the streets doing her thing. But when she got older and she had her daughter at a young age as well, she got saved. And so in the process of her getting saved, and we're talking about Kojic, God, Church and God in Christ, Apostolic Pentecostal kind of saved. So skirts, skirts, modest dressing, boring life. Don't go to the club. Don't drink. Don't cuss. Saved child, and she was really dedicated to live that life. So she went from a street hoe, unpaid street hoe, to I'm a saved woman. She changed her life around. God saved. Long jean skirts. So this lifestyle change shifted, save, yes. um, this lifestyle change shifted her and my mother's relationship because my mother, her abuse, sexual abuse or physical abuse from the people who were raising her, which is my great grandmother, was there was a lot rooted in Bible, in church, and abuse around Bible stuff. Spare the rod, spoil the child. My grandmother used to hang them up like Jesus and whoop their tongues with water hose. That's how bad she used to be abused when they were younger. And because my great grandmother was schizophrenic, and so she just was. It was a crazy abusive time for my mom, and it was a lot of religion rooted in it. So my mother rejected religion like it was, honey, ugh, ugh. So when her best friend gets saved, it changes their relationship. So and change it permanently. Like they no longer they're friends, but they're not close as they was because they're just not living the same lifestyle. Anyway, so Faye's sisters, my aunt Jerry, my aunt Donna, they didn't get saved. Total opposite. They continued to be worldly women, while my aunt Faye went on to be saved. So this is a funny part. So my aunt Donna is a clearly an alcoholic. She's always drunk. I don't remember I don't remember being around my aunt Donna and she wasn't drunk. But my aunt Donna was gorgeous. Like she was one of the most beautiful women I knew. Like she looked like a plus size. Um, she just was like a staple beauty in my life. She was like a plus size. I'm trying to think of a celebrity that she looks like. Um, Lauren London, basically. Yeah, Lauren London, Sweetie. She in that kind of realm. Um, just a just a beautiful woman. Like when I was younger, I just used to look at her face like, oh my god, her face is so pretty. But she was an alcoholic. I'm talking about drunk alcoholic. Drunk, 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 drunk. Like and the kind of drunk that gets aggressive and cuss you out and yeah, motherfucker. So think about this beautifully gorgeous woman that is got the personality of a drunk Aunt Esther from um drunk Aunt Esther from Sanford and Son. So that put that in a plus size Lauren London person. And so she was always drunk, always cussing people out. So I feel like she had some trauma that she was, of course, dealing with when it comes to her personality. It was a funny thing. My mother, they had came home one day from the club, and I have a real aunt. She's not my aunt. She's my mother's aunt. So she's my grandmother's sister named Roz. Now Roz was this is Roz. This is Roz. So Roz, this is who I feel like should have been my grandmother, but she's my grandmother's sister. No disrespect to my real grandmother, but me and her got along way more than my my real grandmother. So she's a madam. She's a professional hoe. She owns with her white partner multiple um, parlors at this time. But no, not at this time. She had this was her past life. She was just a madam. She had a bunch of massage parlors. She was everything. Yes, this is her. She went to Australia, had mansions. She just was on her shit at one point in her life, but she got caught up because she's older. Just like my mama got caught up in the crack epidemic, my aunt got caught up in the heroin epidemic. So she was a heroin girl. She wasn't a she turned into a crack girl, but but her downfall was heroin. So that was the cocaine and heroin was the uppity drugs of her era because she came up in the 60s and 70s. So she is now at this time that I'm talking about. My mom is the young woman and she's in her 40s, like or 30s or 40s. She's in her 30s or 40s, her. But she has fallen from her grand life of being a rich madam. You feel what I'm saying? So now she is like this drunk heroin addict. So, but she's still gorgeous because she didn't lose her beauty at all. She just got older. And so she will go out with the young girls just to, turn tricks and, try to get some money out of these niggas. So honey, she went out with my mom and my aunt Donna, and now mind you, these is young 20 somethings, and my aunt Roz is in her 30s, and so and probably Donna is in because she's the oldest. She's older than my mom, so she probably was in her late 20s. Anyway, my aunt Donna, they go to the bathroom. Now my aunt Roz isn't close to my aunt Donna. That's my mama's friend group. But my aunt Roz is just going out with them because I'm trying to go out with y'all see what the coins is doing. So they at the club and they go into the bathroom, and it is quite common if for girls to go in the bathroom stall together. Like say, so if it's a packed club, they go in the stall together and each one of them pee just so they don't have to be waiting in line. Whatever. That's basically how my mother described it. And so they're in a stall, and Donna, my mom is on this side of the stall, my aunt Roz is on this side of the stall, and Donna is about to use the bathroom. And so so my aunt Donna pulls her panty down and use the bathroom. And and my mother says she says when she pulled her panties down, the smell was so bad that she started about to throw up. And my aunt Roz, my aunt Roz started laughing. My aunt Roz started laughing. And my mother opens up opens up the stall, and my mama is like, "Oh," it goes off, and my aunt Rouse is like, "What's wrong, Moochie?" And my mother was trying to avoid embarrassing my aunt Donna. And so she wasn't trying to say directly what the problem was. And so my aunt Roz was like, "Nah, bitch, you know you smell that bat pussy." And my mother started cracking up. And, and so when they come home, they tell we're in the house and they're telling it's I'm a little kid, so I'm in grown folks business. I'm not supposed to be in grown folks business, but I'm hearing this story and I am cracking up. I am hollering, and just as a little kid this listeners, because you can hear my, like, when my mother is telling the story and my aunt Roz is laughing and they tell the story about my aunt Donna Coochie stinking. It's just everybody in the room is cracking up, and I'm cracking up, and my mother's like, "Get your ass back there, get out of grown folks' business." So this is the scene, so y'all can see. So this is a hilarious, hilarious, hilarious time. So I'm just telling that part of the story because it was funny. It had nothing to do with the point of what I'm trying to make with this video, with this live. I just thought it was funny. Anyway, so the next week, um, my so Donna has a sister. I just told y'all, my aunt Jerry. Now my aunt Jerry has something where her hand is stuck like this. It's some type of arthritis thing that she's born with. She can't she can't open her hand. So it's just stuck like this. So when she talks to you, you won't really notice it until you know what's going on. So it's just something about her hand that's just permanently like this. Just this part. So she's a slim, brown skinned woman. She has two kids. And a week later, after the bat pussy incident, my Aunt Jerry is in a cab going home from my mom's house. Because remember, I told you they kind of share kids, like babysitting kids and that kind of stuff. So she has picked up her children from my mom's house in a cab to go back home. The taxi driver, when the taxi driver, um, before he go, now this is not like nowadays. This is in the 80s. So, taxi driving is kind of not as advanced as it is now with Uber, of course. But even with regular taxis, it's not as advanced. So the professionalism of a taxi was quite unprofessional sometimes. So in this moment, my aunt is in a taxi with her children, her two children, and one of them is a baby. And the taxi driver says, "Hey, I'm gonna cut the meter off, but I need to go to the liquor store, and I'm just gonna run in and grab my stuff. I'm not. He wasn't drinking, but I'm just gonna run in and grab my stuff, and then I'll start the clock again to take you home." My aunt being, like, "Oh, okay, cool. We all hood, so that's not really. This ain't really. I don't want to say abnormal, but it's not that kind of informal situation. As long as I'm not getting charged for this and I'm not in a rush, cool." It's something simple for her to say, "Yeah, cool, okay." And so, and the gas station is right by my mother's house. This is all a neighborhood that everybody is comfortable. We know this neighborhood. Um, we know, you get what I'm saying? It's not like he's saying, "I'm going way over here to a place she don't know nothing about. It literally is a street behind my mom's apartment building. So none of this is abnormal. Like nothing feels like a red flag because there's nothing. I know this neighborhood. I know even my aunt Jerry was like, I even knew people at the liquor store. I even so she's it's nothing to make her feel unsafe. So anyway, she goes. So yes, the cab driver stops at the gas station, cuts the meter off, so it's not charging her. He goes into the gas station, and as he is in the gas station, two dudes jump in his car and drive my aunt Jerry off and rape her. And my aunt Jerry, my aunt Jerry, the way she describes it, this is a trauma situation, so she can't go into tons of detail. This is the first time this has happened to her. Because remember, I told y'all my aunt Jerry, my aunt Faye, my aunt Jerry, my aunt Donna, they come from like a churchified kind of family, and so they were, kind of sheltered in a sense. And so this is the first time anything like this has ever happened to her. And so all I remember is she says just telling them, just please don't hurt my children. Like that's all that she was thinking. So anyway, that happened to her. And it's the first time that something like that happened to in my vicinity to me as a child. So my aunt sued once it all goes down, and they don't kill, they don't rob her or anything. They literally just rape her. Once it all goes down, my aunt sues the taxi company and won. So she got a settlement from the taxi company because the taxi company he was not supposed to stop. He was just supposed to take her home. And so she sued and she won. So she won the case, and it actually set her life up to be kind of dope because she was able to buy a house. She got a Bitcoin from them. So she was able to really secure her life for the rest of her life. Unfortunately, with this trauma, but with this money, she did the responsible stuff that you do. You buy a house, she just took care of herself. So she just was in it kind of got her in a better wealthy situation. It wasn't a setup. It wasn't a setup. It wasn't a setup. Um, the guy, the guy who was the taxi driver, um, his life shifted as well, and he was to the to, he was connected to my aunt in a way, not connected to her, but after it happened, he just was so like devastated by. He really just stopped at the gas station, and he didn't think any because these was people that nobody knew in this neighborhood. They weren't from this neighborhood. It just was a whole thing. It was an ordeal. But it wasn't a setup. Um, he actually ended up like killing himself, the taxi driver, just based off the shame of it. So it was a whole thing in the city. And so in in this scenario, I am a little kid. So I'm like, I don't really understand that this is what my aunt Jerry went through. And because I am a selfish little kid, My Aunt Jerry was a um, I don't want to say she was mean, but she was the meanest of my Aunt Faye's sisters. And not just like she wasn't like my grandma who was always mean. She just was like I remember she had a son named Dewan, and Dewan busted my nose when I was little, like about 6, and Dewan was like 10. He busted my nose and made my nose bleed. And I had and in order to retaliate, because he was 10, I couldn't beat him up. But in order to retaliate, I poured I had poured some like some scalding hot water on him, and it burned him. And baby, my Aunt Jerry was so mad at me that she did never watch me again. Like she never watched me. Um, like she never watched me again. You know, I told you they watched each other's kids. She never watched me again. Like she never let me come over her house again. But it pissed me off as a kid because you let him bust my nose and you didn't do nothing to him. You didn't whoop him. You didn't do nothing. She just took it as it's two boys fighting and not understanding he's way bigger than me. And he bust my nose and you didn't do nothing about it. You just was like, oh, y'all need to stop. Da, da, da. And you didn't do nothing. You didn't whoop him. You didn't do nothing. So fuck you. So in that scenario, I really didn't fuck with my aunt Jerry. Because of that scenario, my mindset, my kid mindset about her was I don't really like my Aunt Jerry. So when that situation happened as a selfish little kid and not understanding the concept of rape and them not explaining it to me, I didn't grasp the whole scenario until I had got older. But when it was happening, when it happened, it kind of wasn't a thing. I didn't really register it as rape because they didn't really go into details, but that's what happened later. Anyway, fast forward. So this was an incident where violence was just a part of this story. I didn't totally grasp the sexual nature of it because I was a little kid. Um, so that dynamic with my mom and her friends started to shift. And so she brought other girls in. So she brought Donna's daughter, Tracy, and her friend. I don't know where Janelle was from. Janelle was, I don't know where Janelle was from. I don't know her connection to us. I don't know how she got connected. I have to ask Aunt Janelle. But she's currently in Florida. So I think she might have been from Florida and visiting Indiana, visiting family or staying with family. But I think she was from Florida. I can't remember, but I can remember the connection. But then but she came into the circle of my mama's friends. So now the people who always hung out together was my mom, Tracy, and Janelle. So there's these three. Um, and they were just young girls in the 80s wearing biker outfits and doing their thing. So another element, another situation. So my mom, anytime my mom, they were like a clique. So if my mom got into it with somebody, they all fighting. They all fighting. So I remember there was this brawl. Ooh, my nose is itching. I remember there was this brawl between the girls in the hood. My mom, Tracy, and Janelle was fighting these older women because I guess Tracy had messed around with one of their husbands or something. And she came to confront Tracy and was trying to fight Tracy, and they all came out and was battling. And my mama had this girl on the ground and was just bamming her. Boop, boop, boop. You know, hood bitches fighting. My mama was wearing her out. And so it's just a whole situation. So during that brawl, there is this woman. Think of her as like Pearl. Not as old as Pearl, but like Pearl. Pearl is, you know, Pearl from 227, where she's always in the window, always paying attention, always in the business. Think of this girl like Pearl. So it was a building that she lived in, and her door looked down on the street that we lived in, and it looked down at the gas station, not the gas station, at the liquor store that my Aunt Jerry had got raped at. So, and remember this, like from her level of the building that she was in, she could actually see our building, and right in front of her is the liquor store. So this is how close this neighborhood is. So I want you to get the concept of spatial. Um, so she could see everything. Um, if she's in the window. So she has two daughters. So while my mama and them is fighting, she's out the window looking and screaming, "Y'all need to stop this! Stop fighting, just being an older woman trying to get the young girls to stop fighting." But from a window. So she's screaming to the back of my mother's apartment while the girls are fighting. She's screaming to tell them stop fighting. This is a memory that I have in my younger years where she's screaming, and it's probably like a not a block away, but like a half a block away. But because she's so high up in the building, she could see the fight happening in the back of our apartment. Anyway, um, one night, now this is when the concept really solidified in my head. So one night, it is it's nighttime, and my mother, we're up watching a movie, and I don't know what happened, if somebody sends Janelle to the liquor store to um to get something. This is my memory of what happened. I remember being in the dark watching a movie with all of my mama and her friends. But they send Janelle to the store to get something to the store, or she wanted to go to the store, something around that nature. Janelle goes to the store. Now, mind you, I told y'all the liquor store is right there. So, her going to the liquor store, them going to the liquor store is so common. So, she goes to this same liquor store. Now, these incidents are probably like 2 years apart. She goes to this same liquor store, and somebody rapes her. And the lady in the window is watching it happen. And she's while it's happening, she's screaming out the window, stop doing that, I see you now. And she's getting her phone and calling the police for what's happened to Janelle. So she's not just sitting, she don't come down to help because she's a woman, she's an older woman, but she sees it's happening, and she calls the police, and she's screaming out the window for people to help, for people to help her. Somebody come help her. Stop it. So, but we're in the house. We can't hear her because we're in the house. Um, so I what I remember is a dude bringing Janelle, banging. So I hear somebody. We in the dark watching a movie. We hear it banging. So my mother cuts all the lights on. Like, what the fuck is going on? So Tracy, my uncle Mike, my uncle Billy, um, my mom, we get up and they go to the door because somebody banging on the door like the police. And they open the door, and it's this dude that is carrying Janelle, like a beat up, disheveled Janelle. And Janelle is crying and kind of quiet, but crying quietly, crying, not hysterical, but just kind of quietly crying. And the dude said the woman upstairs, he had came to the rescue, but while it was too late. He heard the woman upstairs from screaming, and when by the time he ran to the situation had already happened, and the dude ran away. And so he brought Janelle back to where she was staying at. And so Janelle is like this. She looks like disheveled. Her hair is all over her head. She's crying. She's like bleeding. She got like a cut on her mouth, and I'm sitting there like, what the fuck is happening? And so the dudes in the house, which is my uncles, they like they get active. Like they get active. Like what the fuck? Like wanting to fight and find and run around the neighborhood trying to find to see if anybody seen where the nigga went. They asking where they asking the lady upstairs where did he run. So they get active like we want to find this nigga that this to our friend. And so Janelle sits down and my mother is like, oh baby, what happened? Like what is like tell us what happened or whatever. These hood people, they don't got no therapy and training to handle this situation. So they're like, you know, tell us what happened. And basically Janelle tell them that tell us all that the dude just came and raped her. Like just came and drug her to the back of the gas station and raped her. And she said that she heard the lady screaming and telling him to stop, and she was screaming. Um, and because I hear Janelle telling what happened, I'm a little bit older and I'm understanding sexuality a little bit more. I am now understanding that this is a sexual act of violence. And this is the first time in my brain that I'm registering a sexual act of violence. This is a rape. This is somebody forcing her to have sex with him. And I had never made that connection, even with my Aunt Jerry, because I was a kid. I was really young. So I didn't really make that connection. But this moment right here is the first time that I am making the connection about what a rape is, what it looks like, what it feels like. Well, not what it feels like, but what somebody looks like that just experienced this. This is what my Aunt Janelle is like burned in my head as being my first victim of a violent rape. And after that, my Aunt Janelle's personality changed. She ended up moving to she ended up moving back to Florida, and never coming back to Indiana. Um, and I didn't see her again until she added me. She added my mom on Facebook, and then she added me on Facebook and hit me up and was like, "Hey, oh my God, you're so grown, you're so beautiful, oh my God." People who haven't seen me since I was a little kid, and they see me now, and I done transitioned. They usually say something of along the nature. Oh, I knew you was gonna be something. I might not have known that you was gonna be trans, but we knew you was gonna be at least a faggot. And so they'll say something around that nature, like we knew, but we didn't know how far. We didn't know it would go this far. And so that's kind of how the conversation went with her. And she added me, and that's my memory of her. Like I remember her being so sweet and so bubbly and smiley and kind of she was the like if I like categorize my mama's friends, she was the bubbly, happy, ditzy one. She was the, just a happy girl. But once that happened, it shifted her personality, of course. And so she's imprinted in my brain that she's the first rape victim that I knew. And so yes. And I thought about as I was growing, as I'm thinking about, as I'm writing this book, and I'm thinking about violence, and I'm thinking about, hey Nova, and I'm thinking about, did they catch the guys? So I don't. They didn't catch the. Oh, my Aunt Jerry. Yes, they caught the guys in my Aunt Jerry. in my Aunt Jerry situation, they did not catch the guys in my Aunt Janelle situation. The guy the guys that raped my Aunt Jerry, they were young. They were the same age as my Aunt Jerry. The guy who raped my Aunt Janelle was an older person. They did not catch him. Um, yeah, they did not catch him. Um, and so it was this has always been is me grappling with how I think about violence. Yeah, they it's good they did catch them. Um, but that also that case, the thing about that case, this is when it comes to black women and being protected by community and society. The only reason why that case, I think that they caught those two, is because of the high profile it started to be when she sued the taxi company. The fact that it happened in the daytime, it happened while she was in the cab with her kids. It happened. She sued the taxi company, and it became this big old news thing. Um, the high because it had a lot of publicity. I think that's why they were dedicated to solving it. Whereas most of the cases with black women, just like that happened with my aunt Chanel, they didn't really try. It just felt like this was a common occurrence, and but with the black girls in the city, it didn't feel like the detectives or they were trying to solve the case. So my aunt Jerry is a rare situation. Is a rare situation. Um, Trying to think of after that. So I always so in that regards, why I'm talking about this is because I'm exploring the ideas of how violence came into my life, how it became a tool, and how it was introduced to me, and then later on, what I'm going to talk about is how it became a tool for me to stop people from bullying me. Um, but in the beginning of the chapter, I'm talking about you know, how violence showed up. I remember when I was younger, my first incident of somebody dying, like somebody death, my first memory of somebody dying was my uncle Jeffrey getting killed by the police and my mother's friend, best friend, Michael Taylor being killed and it causing a protest, or like a riot protest in Indianapolis. If you look it up, his name is Michael Taylor. He died in 1987. The police killed him, and they claimed that it was a suicide, even though his he was handcuffed. They said he had a gun in his shoe, and he shot himself in the head, even though he was handcuffed. So this it was a bullshit. It was a police, it was police brutality and and it just was it was just I just remember this violence. I remember the juxtaposition of what how my community as a black community talked about police officers and how when I was at school they would bring officer friendlies, police officers that will come in and they give you this sense of you can trust these people. You can, they're friendly. They are your protectors. They're there to protect and serve. But in my community outside of school, Total difference. It was these are people who are unsafe. They are not in your corner. They will kill you. And how that violence showed up in my life. Um, and then the stereotypical violence that assigned male at birth queer people usually experience, when they're trying to toughen you up, because you are a feminine, quirky little child. Um, you know, Usually this came from family or peers. Um, you know, punching you in your chest. Stop acting like a girl. Stop acting like a faggot. That kind of violence to control your behavior. Um, not, I don't think, and if you are a queer woman, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't. The way it shows up for y'all because y'all are sound female at birth, that violence shows up different from y'all. Whether it be when it comes to the violence as to conform. I don't know. Usually um, when queer women I know talk about conformity, trying to conform them into girlhood, into womanhood, into femininity, it usually comes from the women around them, and it doesn't show up in violence. It shows up in um, I don't know, just shame. It doesn't it doesn't really show up shame in being, it's hard to explain. I've never heard a queer woman say that somebody punched her for being too masculine. I just never see it shows up in a different way. Um, when it comes to usually shame of not being girl enough. Um, but with assigned male at birth, I always hear there's some type of violence that happens to us when we are not performing manhood in a certain way, because violence seems to be the act of the language of men. So um, yes, I wanted to ask y'all how, when we think about how violence was introduced to you and how it was used in your life, does this resonate with you? Do you how has violence showed up in your life in unique ways when it comes to your intersections of your identity, and when it comes to just experiencing your life? How did violence show up for you? And that's my question for you. Oh my God, my little brother. He just sent me the picture. She's here. My niece. Yay, we got another girl. I wanted another girl. Look how cute. Oh my God. I have a niece. Oh, that is a good news. I asked my brother, I said, "Yay! Congratulations. More girls, more girls, more girls." Because we got nothing but boys, child. This branch of my family got nothing but boys. My mama had 3 boys, technically. My little brother, the youngest brother that I raised, he has 2 boys, Jackson and Langston. My middle brother has 4 children. He has James. He does have a little girl, one little girl named Majesty, and Imani, and now he has another little girl. So for a long time before this, it was only Majesty, only a girl from multiple generations. It was nothing but boys. So I'm like, we need some girls. We need some girls. And so finally, we have another little girl. And so I'm like, what's her name? And my little brother gonna say, India hasn't told me her name yet. This is the father. India hasn't told me her name yet. So he don't even know his little girl name. Hey Diamond, I started The Gilded Age because of you, and I see they have a new season coming out. Congratulations, Auntie. Yes. Yeah, they do have a new season coming out. When did have they released the date yet? I didn't see any date for it to come out, for it to be released. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so excited. I feel like I can relate. I can be, I could be sweet to my little nephews and stuff, but I feel like more. I'm more suited for nieces. Let me doll you up. So, I'm excited to have a niece. My youngest brother, because of the nature of me and my middle brother's relationship, and he lives so far. He lives in Indiana. I never really come near. And just we just now are getting back to building our relationship. Um, it's going to be hard for me to be close to his children. Now, my little brother, that the one I raised, I'm going to be closer to his children probably because, we just have a different relationship. And so, like, we just went to Cancun together and the boys was there. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to be closer to his children just because of the nature of our difference in our relationship. But he's the one that don't want no more kids. He got 2 sons and he don't want to try to get another one because he was like, man, I'm probably gonna have another boy. he, I feel like he would want a girl if he could guarantee that it was gonna be a girl. But he got 2 boys. He was like, oh, I wish I would have had another girl. But he got 2 boys, and he don't want to. He want to get a vasectomy, child. I'm like, ooh. But I wish he had a niece. But I'm still gonna spoil his sons too, of course. But I actually posted little links on my Instagram, so if you want to see him. Um, but yeah, I think it's love. Hey, Stoner, all the way from Florida, Mississippi. Woo. Hey, but yes, 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 yes. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm a new auntie. I don't know what's happening today, but a lot of my exes are. I don't know if it's some astrological thing happening, but a lot of my people from my past is hitting me up like randomly. My ex Jonathan hit me up and just was randomly just chatting, which was kind of weird. Then my I don't want to call him my ex. He's not my ex. He's like my I don't know what it is. He's just somebody that I've been knowing for a very long time. We have tons of chemistry. We've hooked up, and it just never flourished into something. And we for the past 3 days we've been caking on the phone for like long time, like 3, 4 hours. Oh, then it's something, child, because I am. It's all my past people coming back and talking to me, and even right now, like I just got a message from this person I ain't talked to in a minute. They slide in my DMs. How you been? Child, what? If you don't get out of my face. Now my other little friend that I've been caking with for the past 3 days, he feels more like, the one that got away. He was perfect in every way as far as like the physicality of him. He was like 6'5", he was dark brown, big old dick. He just was a vibe. Like he just was so a vibe. And now he's older. He's like 40, he's like 40, 41. Because he's like a year or two old. I'm 42. So he's like a year and a half younger than me. So he's like 41. And he done got grown. He got a whole full beard, looking grown and sexy. And I'm like, when you get all of this grown man on you? Because he always been kind of tall, young, skinny looking. Um, while we when we both he still live in Indianapolis, but we both live in when we both lived there, he was just kind of tall, skinny looking, and you know, just just my type, just everything. And he done gained a little weight. He's still tall and lanky, but no, I am a Pisces. Um, and but you can tell he done filled out a little bit. Still tall and lanky, but a little bit of weight. And he just looks so good. He looks so good, and his personality is not different, but more mature, and just our vibing is different right now. And I'm like, why am I feeling these hot and fuzzy feelings? What is happening? These protein shakes are good. But yes. I don't know what's happening, but it's wild. This is a season of love for their astrology sign. Capricorn or Pisces. I usually get along with Capricorns. Some of my favorite fuck buddies are Capricorns in my life. I usually get along with. I've never been in a relationship with a Capricorn, but I have been in decent friendships. Capricorns are water signs. Water signs is um, Scorpio, Cancers, and Pisces. I think Capricorns are earth signs. Let me see. I think Capricorns are earth signs. I'm not for sure. Are Capricorns earth signs? Yes, Capricorns are earth signs. The three earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Um, Pisces isn't a fixed water sign. A fixed water sign is Scorpio. Scorpios are fixed. Pisces are more mutable. They're more flowy. Yeah. Scorpio. So each one of your signs has a fix and a mute has a, like a each one of the so one of them is always more fixed. I don't know if are Capricorn fixed. I don't know if they're the fixed earth signs, but I know more about water because I'm a water sign, and the fixed water sign is the Scorpio. The mutable one is the Pisces. Like myself, we're more adaptable and go with the flow. Where Scorpios usually are fixed in their emotion, fixed in their mindset, fixed in their opinions. Usually their emotionality is just as, fluid, but usually they're fixed. You'll fuck someone up like a Scorpio. Scorpios are I'm not as part of me is, but not as much, I don't think. Scorpios usually are they have a vengeful side to them, a vindictive, vengeful side to them that's a little bit deeper than mine. A little bit. A little bit. They are notoriously more vengeful and grudge holding. I put that part of me in me. Us Capricorn can be very vengeful too. Mhm. Yes. My dad is a Scorpio, my mom is a Pisces, and my first boyfriend I love was a Scorpio. My husband um was a Scorpio. My first love was a Libra. My first two loves was a Libra. I have a thing for Libras. There's something about Libras that I'm always attracted to them. But my deeper relationships are usually um, other water signs, Cancers, Scorpios. Um, yeah, I've had good experiences with Capricorns. Yeah, Capricorns. Good experiences with Virgos. Earth signs. I usually have good experiences with them, but yeah, but for some reason Libras always are attracted to me. And Libras, what catches me up is not always a good thing for me, but I'm a person who likes being chased and like the attention, and usually Libras go after what they want, and that kind of gets me caught up in them. Are Libras balanced? They like balance. I don't know if they're balanced. I wouldn't say they like balance, I guess. The girls at church told me that astrology is dark and demonic. Um, yeah, I can see church people saying that. Church people say anything is dark and demonic except for their own pagan rituals. Nigga, y'all take crackers to represent flesh and wine to represent blood and eat it as a communion ritual. Y'all are witches too. y'all are y'all are pagan ritualistic motherfuckers too. So it's wild to when they try to act like they don't have these same type of things in the culture of Christianity. Um, but I watched this really good video that this girl talked about astrology being a science. What they because it's not saying it's a exact science. They're saying that how people are behave in relation to the cosmos. You speaking in tongues and talking about incarnations are of the devil. Like that's literally possession. That's literally spiritual possession. Whether it's a good spirit, bad spirit, it's still spiritual possession, sweetie. For me, astrology is just lighthearted. Yeah, it's not, you know, it ain't that big of a deal. I'm not about to somebody I don't usually like Geminis, but I'm not about to meet an amazing Gemini and be like, "Oh my God, you're a Gemini." No, thank you. No, that's not really how I work. I know some people that work like that, but I go by your behavior. If it's great, then I'm gonna stick beside them. Um, but yeah, usually people that I don't match with. Trying to think of people I don't match with. Um, Aquarius, Aries. Yeah, Aquarius and Aries and Sagittarius. Yeah. Yes. Another element is a lot of people just focus on sun sign. A lot of people focus on sun sign and they don't understand that everybody has a unique combination of other stuff. Um, they have a unique combination. You know, you got a moon sign, you got a ascending and rising, and where was Venus? Where was Pluto? Where was Neptune? Where was Mars? Where's Mercury? Where's all these? Where were they? Where were they at when you were born? You know, and it plays a part in adjusting you and your difference. Then if you're Aries, yeah, your sun sign is in this particular time, so it gives you a general idea of behavior. But then, where's your moon, and how does that affect how you maneuver in the world? And that makes you different from other Aries, etc., etc. What do you think of Terra? It seems like everybody want to read cards now. I think it's divination is a something practice. I think tarot are popular just because it's just something popular. But I always keep my divining tools, use my calories and my stone. I think it's something you can practice and something you can practice with any tools. There's people who use cards, people who use calories, people divination is used, you know, you can use anything. I know people who use um dice. I know people who use so many different things. Snake bones. Yeah, so many bones, literal bones. Um yeah, it just depends on it's just divination. It's just a tool of divination. That's all it is. And I think it needs to be practiced. I think it's something that needs to be studied. I think it's something that needs to be practice, 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 practice. It's not just, oh my God, I wanna look, here go my cows. Oh my God, I want some answers. And then you're looking. It's about your spiritual connection to the things, the consecration, and what you have done to open this up as a your spiritual connection to the divine, how you are aligning with that. It's not just, oh, I'm just randomly. It's hard to explain, if, especially if somebody who is not a believer, of you having a connection to the divine, which is what divination is. You using earthly tools to connect you spiritually with the divine. It's hard to explain it, but I think it's something you have to practice. You have to practice honing that energy. And divination could be water gazing. You can use water. Um, it's every and some people use dreams, like intentionally using your dreams. Like one of the things in Jambalaya, I have a book by Louisa Teef, one of the classic spiritual books by a black woman, Jambalaya. She talks about putting a bowl of water under your bed when you're trying to use your dreams, to protect yourself and use your dreams in the divination process. So, anyway, yeah. So, tarot cards are just something that is just popular now. But I don't trust people who don't have unique tarot cards. Like if you went and got your tarot card from a shop and you have not made them unique to you and your experience and you just got some manufactured tarot cards, it gets weird to me. It gets I'm like, how are you making this your own? I don't know, it feels weird. And also these people that are doing like readings and shit online, like on lives and stuff, it just feels I don't know, it's just not how I do things. So I don't know. I feel like anybody who's doing a reading for me, I want to have a spiritual connection with them. I want us to know each other. I want us to, you know, I want there to be some kind of connection. Somebody just reading, I'm just like me coming to somebody's house and reading or um it always feels weird. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Y'all went into astrology. I wanted y'all to talk about violence. We are supposed to be talking about that. Y'all done went into the witchcraft of it all, the demonic stuff. Oh, yeah. All right, let me scroll up. See what y'all done talked about. Aries try to be supportive to me, but take care of me. So I do like Aries. Yeah, my homegirl, her husband was Aries, and he killed himself in front of her while I was on the phone. Ah, that left a bad taste with Aries in my mouth. No, thank you. Ah, I'm the last day of Gemini, first day of Cancer. an exact cusp, magic, and the first day of summer solstice. My rising is Capricorn, my moon is in Cancer. Yeah, you have a lot of Cancer qualities. Yes, I'm a Libra, Sun, Scorpio, Moon, Sincere, Sincere is the Moon, Sagittarius Moon. I am a Pisces Sun, Capricorn Moon, and Virgo rising. I'm a Scorpio 10/23. My cishet male friend from when I was younger, his birthday was October the 22nd. So I always remember his birthday. Um, my husband was a Halloween baby. Human. Can you ask the question of violence? The question was, how was violence introduced to you when you were younger? How did it show up in your life? How did it show up? What was it used for? Um, how did it impact you? Violence. And I'm talking about like early on. Like, do you remember your first incident of violence? Do you remember, you know, was it a whooping? Was it any type of violence? Any type of violence that I prefer physical, something that it has a physical impact more so than, these kind of verbal or my brothers, and I had three older brothers. They were they were violent to you. My parents spanking, yes. I didn't really get spanked a lot. I don't want to make it lie on my mother and make it seem like, oh, I was getting spanked all the time. My mama whooped me, but very rarely. It had to be something big, like if me playing hooky from school, um, something big. For my mom to whoop me, yeah. But the threat of violence as well. So yeah, the threat of violence. Well, I'm gonna beat your ass if you do that. If you keep doing that, I'm gonna come up there and beat your ass if y'all don't be quiet. There was the threat of violence that was always there. My brother, when I sit up to them, for me, it was witnessing my mom and her boyfriend. They would whip each other's ass. I can't only blame him because she had hands too. mm. I remember domestic violence. I remember me and my mom and my stepdad, my little brother's father before he was born. We would go. My aunt Joe would have like card parties at her house. This is before she got saved. She became a Jehovah Witness. But before she became a Jehovah Witness, she would have party, drinking, blue light, s- spades, playing party, playing blues, parties at her house. And I don't know what happened. I don't know why he did it, but we end up going home, and my uncles take us home, and he has this. Ooh, it's so ugly. Excuse me. He has this pea soup green Cadillac. No, no, no. It's like a Delta 88, and he's taking us home, and it's one of those cars that it has two doors. The it has, yeah, it has two doors, and you have to get out of the one door. You have to get out the back out of one door. So anyway, we are. I don't know what happened. I really don't know. It just felt like when I was younger, it felt like random. It felt like super, super like a random. Because usually you can feel and sense the heat of an argument building up, and then it kind of leads to the violence. But this situation was not. It didn't build up. It was just random. And so my cousin Billy, this is my mother's cousin, right? This also I never understood this either. It's my my cousin Billy. He's driving us home, and we are in his pea soup green Delta 88. And my mother gets out the car. I get out the car. My mother gets out the car, and he is my little brother's father is standing. He was in the front seat, and all I remember is him just punching her like a dead in her face, like a man, like boom, and she fell back on the ground and hit her head on the ground. And my mother's cousin, another man, he came around to stop it, but he didn't do anything, and that shifted me. Like I did not like him for the rest of my life because of this. I'm like, this man hits your cousin and you do nothing. It just now I understand as I'm older, I understand a little bit better. Sometimes people don't want to get involved in these situations because you gonna stay with them. You gonna stay with the dude. Now I gotta fight him and create this violent situation where we both can get locked up and you end up being with the dude. And now me and him got beef for the rest of our life because of one incident, and you end up staying with the dude. So there's an element of that that I kind of understand. But when I was younger, I did not understand it. And I'm like, shit. And it wasn't like he just stood there and let it happen. Well, he didn't know what was about to happen. Nobody knew. He just did it. But when he did it, he came over there and hemmed him up. Not beat him up, but like, nigga, what the fuck? Da, 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 da. So I remember that incident. And then I remember this was one of the moments where it was building up. They were arguing and they kept slamming it. They were arguing in the room and they kept slamming the door, kept slamming the door. And this impacted my life really, really bad because it gave me a physical, mental aversion to the feeling of fear. Like, so anyway, I'll explain it after I tell what happened. So, my mom, they're arguing in the room with the door closed, yelling, cussing, da 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 da. And so, I guess in behind the closed door, he was hitting her. And so she opened the door, and I was right there by the door, and she says, "Hey, go upstairs, and tell Curl to call the police." When I turned around to run up the stairs, um, when I turned around to go up the stairs to do what my mom told me, my stepdad comes out and he screams, not screams, you know how men voices. He says, "Stop right there. You better not go upstairs." And I'm like 6, and I remember his voice freezing me. And I never had experienced that. Like I don't know if y'all have felt this. Like when some have your mother ever your whoever is the authority figure in your house say something to you in that authoritarian voice and it makes your body shiver. Have you ever experienced that? Sometimes it used to happen with my mom sometimes, but this was the first time that it happened ever, and it froze me like it in fear, and it just gives you the shivers. It's like a Um, and it froze me. And I went back to the door. He went back in there, closed the door, and I went back to the door and opened it up. And he had a bag over my mom's head, like a plastic hefty bag over my mom's head, and was punching her. And so, and when I seen that, it just was, it blew my mind. So I did end up running upstairs and calling the police, and the police coming, and they put him out the house. And but in my brain, it triggered me. It triggered me to, because I felt a sense of shame because it was so fearful, and I stopped and didn't listen to my mother. And I'm thinking, "Ooh, what if he would have killed her?" Um, it gave me a certain level of shame of like I was not protecting my mother. And it's a point of my life where that feeling of fear and shame, when that comes over my body, I immediately, it triggers me to fight. Like it doesn't, like that's the result of that traumatic experience. Like it triggers me to fight. When I feel fear or when I feel shame, I want to punch something. And if you're the person who um is causing me that fear or causing me that shame, it's the easiest way for me to fight you. Because of that shame of freezing, that shame of him forcing me just with his words to freeze me. That never happened again because it triggered my response to fight. So when you know how people say fight, flight, or freeze, um, my body always go to fight. It no longer, if even if naturally I might have frozen, um, now it doesn't do that. Fear triggers me to fight all the time. Like it triggers my anger, it triggers my it doesn't trigger me to cower or it's a fear or run. Mm, fear and shame. I don't I hate the combination of that feeling. Yeah, I probably was like 6. Yeah, I'm definitely, which is why in my adulthood it just I don't think it never played out like that because it it you know, you ain't about to make me scared. That whatever that is, that cowering scared, oh my god, I'd rather die. I'd rather fight you and we banging than me feeling scared and just letting you wear me out. I can't handle that. I can't handle that feeling. Whatever that feeling is of somebody just beating you up. You know what it this isn't as traumatic, but it's part of the feeling, the underlying feeling is, what I used to hate when I was little? Not being able to control my body. Like when older people would tickle you and they wouldn't stop. Like they're playfully tickling you, but they wouldn't stop when you wanted them to stop. So you can barely breathe because you're laughing or you're responding to the tickling, and you can barely breathe. I used to hate it. Oh my god, I hated it. It was something that they weren't harming me intentionally. They were just playing, but oh my God. I hated being tickled to that level. Like just doing it and stopping, cool. But I remember my uncle sometimes used to tickle me to where I couldn't breathe and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop laughing or I couldn't stop whatever. So when he would stop tickling me, I would be angry. Um, you were not able to set boundaries during that age. Yes, I was. I just didn't. That's that particular scenario because it was planned. I didn't. It wasn't harmful. It was just play. So I didn't think of. I didn't think of it as I'm setting a boundary. First of all, I didn't have that language as a kid, but somebody. I never felt like I couldn't tell somebody not to do something because my mother kind of instilled in that. All right, her official name is my niece is Imani Ray. Oh, Imani Ray the Graffin. Yes. So cute, so cute, so cute. But yeah, my uncle's tickling me. It didn't feel like that. Didn't feel like a cross boundary until it happened. You see what I'm saying? Like, because you don't know that tickling is play. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like play. So until it happens and it goes too far, you don't know that it goes too far. And so my boundary was, oh my god, I don't like this. So I'm not. I don't put myself in a situation where he's tickling, where he's tickling. So I did. Yeah, it was just fun. So I did. It wasn't wrong. Like it didn't feel like if it felt wrong, like he was touching my private parts, then I would be like, my mama told me about this. No. But no, it was just he wasn't touching my private part. He was just tickling. Normal kid, playful tickling. And so it didn't feel like a boundary I needed to set until I was actually in it and was like, "Ooh, I don't like this. I actually don't like this." Cuz I remember and he listened. So when it went too far, so like if it was a movie, it would be easier to explain because not explain, but to see because he's tickling me and we're playing and I am laughing and uncontrollably laughing and can barely breathe. So when he actually does stop, it immediately go into rage. Like, oh, you literally like I can't breathe now. There's it's so because of it, it immediately goes into rage. So I get red and start crying and angry. I told you to stop. And my uncle was like, whoa, not knowing that this is actually going too far. And it wasn't until my body responded to it that he was like, oh, I thought we was playing. I didn't know. I didn't know. He was flabbergasted. He was like, "Whoa, what else?" He was like, "What? What the fuck?" But my mother was like, "Stop!" My mother was like, "What is happening?" Because I turned into a child that needed rescuing. And my mother was like, "What is happening? Why are you touching him like that?" And because she has issues, she's like, "What is happening? Is this some kind of sexual situation?" But it wasn't. It was more. It was just about the first one, Amani Ray. Um, but yeah, I remember it vividly. I remember just the tickling going too far, and I just couldn't handle it, and and it turned into a rage once he stopped. Stop tickling me! It was. It's kind of funny thinking back on it now, but in the moment, it was like a devastating rage. Stop tickling me. And I just started bawling, and my mother was like, but that feeling of unable to control my body was that I just remember it reminding me of that feeling of that of my stepdad and that kind of fear and shame or something. I just remember those feelings being like a mirror image of each other, even though they weren't the same scenario. The feeling of not being able to somebody is controlling my body. Ooh, ooh, that was so late to me. It just the feeling of fear of it felt the same. Um, I remember the first time that I was like punched really hard. The person who punched me the hardest I've ever been punched, where it made you see those stars, was this girl named Christy. We were fighting, um, and it's a long story short. I think I told y'all this story before, but basically, my homegirl Holly was the pretty girl in the neighborhood, and these mangy bitches wanted to fight her. And she didn't have even though my cousin Holly had cousins and sisters, they weren't the kind of family that said, y'all stick together and fight together. And so Holly was like, I know if I come off this porch, they gonna jump me. So I'm not about to come off the porch because it's like three of them. And so I told Holly that I will fight with you, bitch. We wouldn't don't let them punk you. I'll fight with you. And I guess Holly that gave Holly some courage because she went down there and started fighting this girl. And um when she started fighting her, the other girl, Christy, tried to jump in and, try to jump. And I was like, boop. Nope. So me and Christy is battling. But because I'm like 13 and Christy is like, I'm like, nah, I could be 13. I had to be like 12. Um, and Christy is like 16. But in my brain, I'm like, oh, this is a cis girl. I'm about to wear her out. That's how my brain was thinking. And so I was like, Bob, and I gave her a normal little rap. Doop. Baby Christy said, oh, boom. And it was the hardest hit that I had ever felt in my life thus far. Probably in my life. No, I had got hit again by this dude when I was at the Guardian Home. But the first time that I ever had somebody punch me and I could feel my head say boom and see stars and it's trigger fear, Christy. Christy said, "Oh, because I rapped her, and I didn't even give her the full strength of my rap. I just was like, um, boom." And honey, baby, Christy said, "Wham!" Just full fist, boom, and I could see her. I see her fist come in my face, boom. And I saw them stars, and it sent me into a rage. And I wore her out. I beat her down. don't get it twisted. Wore her out, but honey, that punch was a good punch, child. That lick she got off was a good little lick. Chrissy definitely threw that little hand. So I was like, oh, I can't play with her. I gotta really fight. I gotta really fight with her. I gotta give her the full strength. So I was wearing her out. I think the only reason why I wore her out is because she had titties and she just couldn't move as fast as me. Because she was my same size. We was the same size, but she had big ass titties that was kind of, I don't know, throwing her off, but I don't know. I was faster than her. And so but that hit, it was I gotta give it to her, bitch. You got that one off. And if I felt that one this thing. uh Then she tried to get her brother, who was 18. The next day, she tried to get her brother to come fight me, and he was 18. And I remember she's like 16. Her brother is like 18, and I'm 12. But because I was technically a boy, they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't have been fighting a girl." Um, and I came out to fight him, her brother, because I'm like, oh, because in my brain, I don't, at this time in my life, oh, your age don't mean nothing. We can scrap because I done beat up people older than me. So let's go. So I was ready to scrap, but my mama was like, you as a grown ass man, if you want somebody to fight, you gonna fight him. And she told, she brought out her boyfriend at the time. Her boyfriend at the time, his name was Carlos, and he looked like a more handsome Scottie Pippen. And Carlos had came out and was like, "Yeah, you a grown ass man," because he did look like a grown ass man. But I wanted to, I still wanted to fight him because I just was that kind of. As a teenager, oh, I fight anybody. And so but my mother wouldn't let fight him because he was a grown ass man. She was like, if you bring somebody his age, yeah, but you bring in somebody older, nah. Since you want to fight somebody, fight him. And Carlos was like, "What's up?" And he backed down. So that was funny. What happened with the guy? What do you mean, what guy? No, I was pretty, but I wasn't one of the girls at the time. I was. This is '94. Um, pre-transition. This is pre-group home. This is pre everything. I was definitely still a little young little boy. Um, Feminine, definitely gay, gay little boy. Um, I was wearing girl feminine clothes. I wasn't intentionally wearing girl clothes yet. You said the one other time that someone hit you hard. Oh, I was in a group home and I got in a fight with this dude, and he just hit me, and I couldn't beat him up. He was bigger. He was much bigger than me and stronger than me. But I never fight fair, and so he beat me up. He punched me. Blah, 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 blah. I went that day. I went to the store and I got one of these bottles. I don't know if y'all remember this. Let me look it up and see if they still exist. At the corner store, they used to sell these glass bottles. It was two types that I used to always get. They were called Cleary Canadian. They were kind of like sparkling, not sparkling water, but like fruity water. And then there's this kind called Trade Winds. Trade Winds drink. Y'all remember Trade Winds from the '90s? They might have been out of. Do y'all remember Trade Winds? No, this is no. They're bringing up a cocktail. They were like a drink in glass bottles. Oh, here they go. This. They were like a glass. They look like a glass bottle. And so I had went to the corner store and I got one of them trade wind bottles, and they had a long neck. And that night, when he wasn't paying attention, I brought one of them trade wind bottles. Boom, and bashed his head and took and once I bashed his head, I took the 2x4 and boom. I just wanted to do something crazy. That's why I did the trade wind bottle and kept bashing and bashing and bashing. The adult in the situation kind of grabbed me by my waist and snatched me. So he snatched me so hard that I got a scar from his nail on the side of my you can't see it now because like my butterfly has gotten wide and spread. That done got wide and spread too. But it was like for some reason, usually when somebody scratches you, it heals and goes away. For whatever reason, him scratching me on my from snatching me did not go away. It left like a permanent brown scar. You can't see it now, but when I was skinny, it did. You could see it. Um, he snatched me hard as fuck, and it kind of scraped my he did like this and just pulled me back. He kind of scraped, but after I did that, um, everybody thought I was crazy, which was good because he did beat me up. He was bullying me. He was bullying me because I was gay. But he learned that day. He never messed with me again. I don't have a story behind it. It was just my first tattoo. It's no story other than my first tattoo. No story behind it. Um, trying to think of other. I remember me and my my friend PJ. PJ being my friend, we always played together, but he was a type of young boy. He could run really fast. So what he would do, he would punch you and run away. He would never fight you, just hands up and fight. So I would tell my mom, I had told my mom that that's what he would do. Like if he got angry with me, he would just punch and run. And he had a mother that was like a anti-violence mother, like an old head. My mom was young, so when my mom had me, she was in her early. At the time that this shit was going on, it was in her early 20s, and in his mom was an older woman, and he was the youngest of her children. So she had an older 21-year-old girl, and he was like the kid, the son. She probably wasn't 21. She probably like 16. But by this time, she probably was. I don't know. I just know she was an older mother. So when we would try to fight, um, yes, I see that message, Juju. Um, um, when I would try to fight him, and he would run upstairs, and his mama wouldn't let me fight him because she was like one of those anti-violence older women. Y'all is not about to be fighting. But my mother was the opposite. Once I told my mother what he was doing, like he would just like try to punch me and run off. Um, one time, my mother, he punched me, and my mother stopped him from running by tripping him. And I was able to catch him. And so we got to tussling. Boom, 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 boom. And I wouldn't let him go. I'm just beating him. And his mother comes down and is like, y'all need to stop all of that fighting. My mama was like, don't touch him. Because if you touch him, I'm going to touch you. If you touch him, I'm going to touch you. Your son wanted to fight, punch and fight, so they gonna fight. And so she literally made us fight for like 10, more than that, it had to be like 15. We was fighting so long that we got tired. Like we were sitting holding each other arms like this and got tired. And she was over it. The mother was over it, but we didn't fight no more. We didn't fight no more after that because we fought till we were tired. Like she made us fight till we were tired because she knew also that we were going to be friends after that anyway because we always would make up. But she was like, "See, y'all tired now. What's the point in fighting if y'all was gonna be tired?" Because we were sitting there huffing and a puffing, holding each other, and she was like, "I don't understand why y'all fighting. Y'all just gonna be friends again. What's the point of this?" But we didn't fight no more after that, so it worked. Whatever her goal was, it worked because we didn't fight no more. It was cool. Mm-mm. Hey, yum yum. But all right, y'all. We have been on here for 2 hours. It is 11 o'clock. I will chat with y'all later. Um, I will talk to y'all later. Oh, I will be posting for the members in the group. If you are a member, like the behind the paywall, I have some videos that I'm gonna be posting for the weekend over the weekend. That is small, short videos of trans people that I have interviewed over the years, white, black, trans men, trans women, older, younger, just small little interviews. Remember, I told you about the idea that I had about I have two videos, public videos that are called The Tribe. And I said, I just want to do like little short, like little archival videos of trans people that y'all might not know because they're not famous, but they are out in the world and doing their thing. I have posted, I'm going to post them. Um, and so y'all can listen to them and watch them. And that's um, yeah, I told y'all about this a while ago. Basically a series called The Tribe, and it's just so I can introduce y'all to trans people and continue to create an archive of y'all knowing who trans people are. I started it in 2015, but I never posted these videos. I never posted these videos because I had a whole other idea, but I think I want to share them now. So I've already uploaded them, but they're just private, and I'm gonna put them for the members to watch it, and I'll probably eventually put it for everybody else. But right now, it's for the members until I get the whole group, until I get the whole thing edited. Um, I still go back and watch and cry with the videos for y'all girls trip to Hawaii. Yeah, that's out too. That's out publicly. But yeah, I love those videos. Those are my girls. um, but yes, all right. I will talk to y'all next week. Bye bye.